Partial funding for the operation of this channel is provided by the City of Oceanside.
This program brought to you by the caring hands of Tri-City Medical Center.
At their November 15th meeting, the MiraCosta Board of Trustees approved the 2011 MiraCosta Comprehensive Master Plan. Now, this process began 2 years ago, and it's an extensive process that we think you need to know something about. And we have the man with us today who knows all about it. Dr. Rodriguez, president of MiraCosta, welcome to the Voice of Oceanside.
Thank you, John. Happy to be here. And I was reflecting that it's been about since 2009 since you and I sat down together, so it's good to be back.
It's been a while. It's good to have you back.
Thank you.
Tell us about this 2-year process and what some of the highlights are of what you went through to get to this point.
Sure, happy to do so. Well, this comprehensive master plan, it really combines two very important elements. One is an educational plan that reviews the academic programs that we have at the college, and secondly, the facilities that will support those academic plans. So over a 2-year process, we took an analysis of the local region, the economy, looked at demographic trends, and we hired folks to help us to do that. And we reviewed each one of our academic programs that are in place, and then derived projected student forecasts, et cetera, the kind of facilities that we would need to maintain our excellence in education, and really the kind of buildings, space, learning areas, if you will, that the college would need between now and 2020. So the end result is a review of the full program, academically, and about 7 new academic buildings throughout our 3 campuses, and virtually every laboratory and every classroom touched up and modernized, et cetera. We haven't had a modernization of our facilities en masse since 1964 when we first moved from the Oceanside Carlsbad facility in Carlsbad to the current site where we're located. So it's been a long time since we've done a complete overhaul of our facilities, and this would allow us to do that between now and 2020.
Now, one of the things that I think is interesting about MiraCosta, and maybe the community college system in general, you're just not catering to and adjusting to the needs of the local students, but also the educational needs of the local employers.
That's correct. That's correct. Our college, we exist. We have a strong career and technical education program. And the college is looking at forecasted enrollments, looking at what the needs of local industry are, and trying to create curriculum, programs, services that really meet the needs of local employers. So there's going to be growth in areas like in the health sciences, in the technical and professional areas, in areas such as that, the business and finance related areas. So it's very important for us to have curriculum and coursework that meets the needs of local employers. We're a local community college, and if this nation is going to get itself back on track and have a more robust economy, community colleges are going to play a significant role and continue to play a significant role in the economic vitality, if you will, and vibrancy of the local community. So we'll play a very, very large role in doing so. So it's important for us to pay attention to the local and forecasted needs.
You know, one of the things I think we should get out, because you're touching on something that is frequently a 10-second soundbite, and that is that education is the answer. And as an insider in the education business myself, I know what you're going to say on this. It's not just education is the answer, it's the right kind of education.
That's correct.
And that's part of this plan, is to become responsive to what degrees and what training is necessary for today.
That's correct, and for the future as well, as we look at alternative energy and to programs and green technology. I mean, what are the kinds of skills, competencies that folks are going to need for jobs that we can't even imagine, perhaps right now, that will be commonplace in 2020 and 2025. So it is responding to employers' needs and providing skills and competencies that will allow folks to be nimble enough to enter into those new professions, as an example.
Now, you've had a huge increase in enrollment over the last X number of years. Mm-hmm. Actually, it's been pretty continuous in the history of the organization. But from 2004 to 2009, I see you had a 41% increase, which is really significant. Tell us about where those additional students are coming from.
Okay. Well, and that increase, as you has described, has continued now through 2020 11. Students are coming to community colleges, first of all, because it represents the best value per dollar in higher education. The cost per the training and education you receive is outstanding. Secondly, I think there's a very strong recognition and greater recognition of the excellence in teaching that occurs at community colleges. So those are two reasons. But the other reason is, and this is a clear reason, is that when the economy is sour, our enrollments tend to go up. That is, people are going back, they're retrained, perhaps they're unemployed or underemployed. So folks are going back to gain a skill, knowledge, or ability that will allow them to be successful in their current workplace or in a new career. And then perhaps another reason that is also driving this is that the soaring costs of higher education, particularly at the private universities, at our public four-year senior institutions, the University of California and the California State University, those soaring costs have allowed great students who are UC, CSU eligible to attend our college and to be very successful and to get a great deal on completing their first 2 years of their baccalaureate degree. So those are the drivers. And perhaps the last reason that comes to mind, John, is that our increase in allowing and offering classes through online education that has soared. About 1 out of 3 students now of our 15,000 student enrollment, roughly in our credit side, is enrolled in an online class, and that has just mushroomed. With busy schedules, managing work, family, and those other things, the online education environment is really conducive for some learners. So they combine an on-ground class with online, and some take their full load online because it's more conducive to their personal needs and academic interests.
How does that tie into the master plan? Does the master plan envision a significant increase?
It does. We envision a 2% enrollment increase between now and 2020. So it'll bring us about 18, almost 19,000 accredited students, and that is something that we can manage.
Do you envision a day when almost all of the programs are online? Is that a goal, or is that something you're intentionally not shooting for?
No, I don't believe that all the programs will be online. I think there are some disciplines that are conducive to online education, others better suited for on-ground education. So that's not a goal of ours. And also depends on the learning style of the individual. Students who are coming to us, some older learners in particular, like to have face-to-face conversations and contact and interaction with the professors. Other learners who grew up with technology, who have PDAs who are associated with them and other technical devices, are very conversant in using technology. So I would say that there's enough room for the individual kind of learner and for the discipline that will drive that. So I suspect a good balance, but a third, 2/3 right now is a pretty decent balance. I do see that increasing, but at some point plateauing, and students having the choice with respect to what is most convenient for them and their learning style.
So we can expect a continued need then for more physical plant.
Absolutely, absolutely. More space and more modernization of existing space and new space, particular laboratories, general classrooms, and facilities for the allied health area, our health careers, which is a growing field in North County and in the nation, if you will. We need some new modern facilities for that.
So I'm sure that there's some degree of population growth, but what I'm hearing you say is you're actually getting a bigger market share than before for economic and maybe even educational reasons.
That's correct. And in fact, 30% of our student enrollment come from outside our district service area that runs from Camp Pendleton along North County, the coastal strip, to Highway 56. About 1 out of 3 students come from outside the area to partake in the specialized programs that we have, as well as the quality education that we provide.
What do you think the real draw is for people who are coming outside the area? And the reason I want to mention is because we all know location means a heck of a lot with school. People don't like to drive past a school to go to another school, and yet you're saying a significant number of people are doing it.
They do. Well, we have programs in energy technology and radiation protection technology, biotechnology, a very successful nursing program, highly successful program in that area, surgical technology, etc. And those are specialized programs that only our college offers that are in the high-wage, high-growth area. So folks are looking at the careers that best suit them, whether they're in those now or wanting to get into a new career. So they're looking as to where the programs are. The nice part about this region, the San Diego and Imperial Counties region, is that all the community colleges have specialized programs to cater to a wide variety of academic and vocational interests. So within a reasonable driving distance, folks who live in the county or in adjacent counties can get a high quality and affordable education. So they're coming to that realization. But I really think it comes down to the environment that's at the college, the high quality of faculty-student interaction, the lower classroom sizes as compared to our four-year counterparts, the personalized attention that students get at MiraCosta College, the ethic of care, if you will, that permeates the institution, and just the preparedness of our faculty, staff, and our administrators whose singular goal is the success of students. So I think environment has a lot to do with it as well. When folks walk on our campus, they feel a sense of place, they feel like they belong, and we support their academic interests. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well.
Let's talk about a potential element in this growth. We have a couple minutes before the break. I assume you're seeing more veterans.
Yes, we are. We are. We currently serve close to 1,800 veterans and dependents of active military veterans at our college. That has grown 50% in 5 years. We expect more to come with the drawdown that's occurring internationally, and we expect our veterans to be very successful. We want to assist them in the transition from the military life and now to a civilian life, if you will, if they so choose to do so. And when they come to the college, here's what they can expect, John. A counselor who's dedicated to their academic plans. You have a whole Veterans Benefits Office that can assist them with interpreting the very complicated VA benefits process, if you will, to ensure that they get all the benefits that they are so richly entitled to. We have an academic space and a lounge space that we call the Veterans Information Center that are staffed by student veterans. There's computers, television, an area where they can have a sort of a respite from the busyness of the college community, and a textbook assistance program for veterans as well. So it's a veteran student club that provides a lot of leadership on campus and support, if you will, for those students who are transitioning. So we welcome veterans. We expect more to happen, and the college is preparing to serve a wider share of veterans who are returning and transitioning. And I think we do that very, very well. I'm very proud of that.
Just real quickly, is that all coming from word of mouth, or do you have an outreach to veterans?
Yes, we have an outreach to veterans from our student veterans club as well as the campus, and we've sort of declared that we're open to veterans. The GI Jobs magazine has identified for the last couple of years, I believe, the college as being a military-friendly campus, so that word sort of gets out. But word of mouth, as you know, is a great way to advertise. When students feel comfortable, they feel supported, that they can be successful in their transition, word gets out. And I believe that's why we're seeing more and more veterans and their dependents coming to the college, and we welcome them. I want to be very clear about that.
Well, we're about halfway through getting the word out today on this show, so we'll take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be back to talk more about MiraCosta.
Jenny dear! Don't forget my dress for the fashion show! We want to look my best now! Jenny, we started our book report. Here's the cover.
Yeah, now all we need is a beginning,
a middle,
and an end.
Jenny dear!
Hi, honey. Dad called and he said...
Are you feeling blue? What's wrong with being blue?
Well, where should I start?
If you're a teen dealing with stress, there's help. Visit the Will Rogers Institute website for a free booklet about teen stress and how you can de-stress your life.
Right.
For your free booklet on teen stress, visit the Will Rogers Institute website at wrinstitute.org or call toll-free 877-957-7575.
How do you de-stress your life? Like this.
You ever think about buying a bigger place?
Just waiting for a visit from the credit fairy.
There is no credit fairy.
How else will I get a better credit score?
Look, you keep your credit card balances low and only open a new card if you really need it.
No fairy?
There's no magic to improving your credit, but there's help, and it's free. Go to creditfairy.org.
Our eyes met from across the room, and he was irresistible. Hi, I'm Rochelle Lefebvre, and this is Johnny. We're working with Best Friends Animal Society to create a day when there are no more homeless pets. Each year, millions of dogs suffer horrendous conditions in puppy mills, whose sole purpose is to make money for the people who supply puppies to pet stores across the country. Meanwhile, about 4,000 dogs are killed every day in American shelters. You can help stop this. Together, we can ensure that all of America's dogs have families of their own. When searching for your next best friend, go to your local shelter and rescue a great dog like Johnny. Do what I did. Adopt. Don't shop. Let a shelter dog like Johnny steal your heart.
The sooner you quit smoking, the sooner you'll start reducing your risk.
Welcome back to the Voice of Oceanside. Dr. Rodriguez, let's get into the Student Success Task Force. What is that?
Well, that is a set of recommendations that have been put forth by a statewide group that really propose some sweeping changes, potentially, to the California Community College system. So the task force was created over the past year or so, and they've done incredible work to put forth some recommendations that have now been approved by the Board of Governors. Let me talk a little bit about what these recommendations suggest. There are about 20 or so recommendations. One is the premise of why the recommendations occurs because we all, as folks who work and support community colleges, want to see the rate of student success increase. So what are some of the regulations, laws, practices that we could engender that will allow students to be more successful? While we're generally pleased with the rate of student success in some areas, the overall rate of success for students, particularly those who are in our basic skills areas, is simply not sufficient. So the system needed to do something dramatic, something bold, and something energetic to infuse into the conversation new strategies and new approaches for the success of students. So these recommendations talk about strengthening the relationships with our high school counterparts. It talks about using a single common assessment throughout the state of California so that when students come in and enroll at a college, they can take the same assessment and be diagnostically placed in similar classes throughout the state. Right now, we have different assessments for different community college districts. It's a locally controlled option.
And different districts have different relationships with the high schools, do they
That's
not?
correct.
That's sort of up to the local authorities to handle that.
It is. There's a lot to say about local control with local boards and local support, the local resources. There's a lot of goodness that comes out of that. But in some cases, it varies. There's a disparity in terms of the relationship. But most have very solid relations with high schools. Those are our largest feeder schools, if you will, to their particular districts. The recommendations also talk about consequences, that when students don't meet a successful academic program or not making satisfactory academic progress, that they're not given the priority in enrollment for the subsequent semester, or in some cases that their financial aid will be curtailed. So how we assess students, how we enroll them, how we support them while they're there, and what our expectations are when they leave are the basis of these recommendations. There's also support in these recommendations for what they describe as a public scorecard, so that the public can see and monitor how we're doing as community colleges and how we're utilizing the public's investment in higher education and how we're doing in the rate of success of our students. We simply need to do a better job of making our students more successful as a system, and we all agree to that, because the economic vibrancy, vitality, if you will, of our country, of our state, of our local region is dependent on having an educated workforce. So we need to do something to improve that and to reduce that educational gap, success gap that exists between certain populations of students. We just need to make sure that all students have the opportunity and are successful to the best extent that we can. The challenge is, John, is that there's no new resources identified currently for these potential new strategies. So what that's going to mean is that institutions like ours will have to look at our current resources, reprioritize, and redeploy. And we're perfectly prepared to do that.
You know, probably the easiest way to ensure success is to limit who gets in to begin with, and that's sort of cheating for an educator. Does anything in this process point in that direction, or are we still committing to basically an open enrollment type of process?
Yes, thank you. Excellent question. Thank you for asking that. Our community colleges are solidly behind and support the egalitarian mission of an open access institution. There is no other institution, and some have heard me say that, accepts the top 100% of the graduating class, and we do so without apology and without exception. So the open access hallmarks that has guided the California Community College mission and our nation's community colleges prevails.
Let's get into the facilities now. I mean, unfortunately, that's the big money, and it gets bigger every day because of building codes and just general costs. That's part of the master plan.
It is.
Which hasn't been funded yet, which
That's
is something
correct.
we'll get to. But before we get to where the money might come from, let's talk about where it would go from a facility standpoint.
The comprehensive master plan?
Yes.
Well, it identifies new structures and facilities at all 3 of our sites and bolsters our online education delivery system to provide services and programs for, as I mentioned before, an increased number of students for the college. So it is modernizing, and particularly we're focusing on laboratories and general classroom space. That is our greatest need at the moment. Our science laboratories that is so supportive of a wide variety of academic curricula throughout our 3 sites.
Just so people can walk away, with sort of an overview, not going through it on a building by building basis. Are we talking more about new facilities, about expansion, or are we talking about renovation and improvement to existing facilities?
It's all the above. Virtually every academic space that it currently exists will be touched and modernized with new technologies, and improvements, so that the learning environment can be conducive to 21st century standards. So every facility will be touched in some way or another and improved. With respect to new facilities, we're really talking about a general purpose, very large academic classroom, general purpose facility at the Oceanside campus, a building that will house laboratories, an abundance of laboratories, and a facility that will include facilities for our allied health, in particular nursing and surgical technology and other related allied health facilities. So those are the new facilities that we need that will supplant very old facilities that we have now that work, that we've kept and maintained and repaired, but that are in great need of refurbishment and replacement because of the age of the particular facilities. At our Community Learning Center here in Oceanside as well, we're looking to provide a sort of Mission Avenue facility that will be our admissions and records and student services to give presence to the Mission Avenue facility there, and then use the other existing space for other academic and classroom purposes. And at our San Alejo campus in Cardiff, that will build a couple of new buildings, principally centered around general classrooms and science facilities.
What's the general state of technology in the average classroom now? Is it good, okay, terrible? Where is it at?
I think it's improving. I think it's good, but it needs to improve. All of our classes are wired for technology, to access to the internet, and we have instructors who are very adept at utilizing all the resources that are available through technology to improve student learning. So it's very good, but in some cases they're outdated. In some cases they're in need of the backroom services, if you will, of our servers and our wiring and whatnot. Over time, that needs to be replaced. So that's where we're not at the critical juncture yet where student learning is impacted because of lack of technology. We're not there, but we are proactively seeking and are anticipating the need to replace that in the future, John. So that's part of our master plan as well, a technology component.
All right, let's end with, in fact, where could the money come from to support this master plan? First of all, just to put one thing to bed, what about the proposed sales tax increase? How does that impact MiraCosta specifically?
Thank you. In November 2012, the governor has proposed a sales tax increase that would, I believe, bring about $7 billion into the state's economy to address the shortfall that's been addressed. For California community colleges, that would derive about $200 million into the entire 72-district, 112 college system. So we would benefit from that. In a way that would be very, very useful. But the colleges that would benefit most are those that are apportionment driven. That is, those that get funding from student enrollments. We don't. We get our funding from principally from local property taxes. So, but we would be generally supportive of that property tax on behalf of the California community colleges. The other funding that to implement this comprehensive master plan will have to come from other sources. In November, we presented to our board options for funding with respect to implementing this comprehensive master plan. We think it'll cost somewhere between $400 and $500 million to implement the full plan, if you will. The board, after its presentation in November, authorized us to proceed with exploring the feasibility of a general obligation bond, a facilities bond, at the November 2012 election. So we have engaged in that survey, community survey now. We'll be presenting the results of that survey at our January 24th board meeting. And we'll be posting per that meeting, an executive summary of the results so that the public can see. We'll be posting that on our website so folks can get a general sense of the public's appetite, interest for supporting facilities at MiraCosta College.
What period of time would that money be spent over?
Over 10 years.
If everything went according to plan, 10 years?
Over 10 years.
Okay, so $30 to $40 million a year plan.
It may be actual, it may not be spent
Divided
evenly
out
that way, but because we'll need to front load for some new facilities, because right now you can get quite a bit of money for your dollar, if you will, with the economy right now. Construction dollars, you can get a lot for your dollar right now. So we would be looking to build and modernize where we could sooner than later, should this pass, and should the board authorize us to move forward, and should this pass, and move forward with that. So I think utilizing the first series of that sooner than later because of the value that one can get for their dollar now. But that decision is yet to be made. The board will listen to the results. It's a big decision for the board, and once they hear the results, they'll give us direction as to how to proceed. If the board does not authorize us to proceed, or the bond does not pass, we'll have to look for alternative methods of borrowing money using the current reserves we have for future buildings and doing as much as we can. Clearly, the plan will be slower to implement if we had to use other resources or internal resources.
Real quickly, is there a year where you bump up against a capacity limit? Is that on your horizon?
In terms of the class capacity,
the way it is now,
we're at between 85 and 92% capacity as we speak. So we have a little bit of room, John. So, but in a couple of years, we won't have room, and we'll have to be turning away students in general. Right now, we turn away students in particular programs because there's just no capacity. Our transfer programs are through the roof. Our allied health programs have a 2-3 year waiting list in some cases, particularly in nursing. So we're already turning away students in some areas already because of capacity issues. But overall, we still have a little bit of room, and we're anticipating the need and planning for it through this comprehensive master plan.
We've got a minute left. The MiraCosta Foundation had a great year.
They did. Oh my gosh, the generosity and philanthropy of the local community has been inspiring, frankly. In the worst economy since the Great Depression, as they say, our local philanthropists and local companies and individual donors have allowed us to raise about $2 million last year, which is for us a record and banner year for the cause. We're very, very proud. Those are to support the success of students, every dollar of it. So we're very, very pleased about that, and are very thankful for our generous philanthropists and donors who are believing and investing in higher education and believing in investing in the future success of our students, our local students.
Well, local people supporting local students. We'll have to end on that note. Thank you for being here and giving us all this great information.
Great.
And we want to thank you for watching this edition of The Voice of Oceanside. Remember, The Voice is available for download at our website, koct.org. Thanks for watching.